think the most I've ever weighed in my 24 years is 64 pounds.
In 2013, doctors discovered something impossible. A man who stood 6 feet tall with less than 1% body fat. He was still alive, but his body acted obese even though he looked starved. Then there was the woman whose body couldn't age properly. She was trapped in a baby's body her entire life. And the artist who spent 23 years photographing her disappearance. She wanted to stop time at age 10. The question is, what happens when your body betrays your mind? Today, we're uncovering medical mysteries behind extreme thinness. Lucia Zarate. Lucia Zarate was born in 1864 in San Carlos, Mexico. From the very beginning, her body looked unreal, almost like a toy brought to life. She didn't just stop growing, she barely started. At 17 years old, she weighed only 4.7 pounds. That's less than a newborn baby. She was just 20 inches tall. Even at her heaviest, she never went over 14 pounds. Doctors later said she had a condition called Majewski osteodysplastic primordial dwarfism type 2. Back then, no one knew what that meant, but her size made her famous. In the late 1800s, during a time when circuses and freak shows were booming, Lucia became a star. In 1876, she was the highlight of the Philadelphia Centennial Exposition. Crowds couldn't believe their eyes. She wore custom-made dresses and was called the Living Doll. She earned $20,000 a year. That's more than $600,000 today. She was one of the highest-paid performers in the world. But behind the fame was a sad truth. Her body was too fragile for the hard life she was forced into. The W.W. Cole Circus pushed her from one town to the next, across rough roads and freezing weather. In January 1890, while crossing the Sierra Nevada mountains, her train got stuck in a snowstorm. Inside that cold railroad car, her tiny body couldn't take it. She froze to death. Lucia was only 26 years old. People were outraged. For the first time, they started to question how circuses treated performers with medical conditions. But Lucia's story didn't end there. Rumors spread that her embalmed body had been taken and displayed illegally. Some say it was kept in a private medical collection. Then it disappeared. No one knows where she ended up. To this day, she holds the record as the lightest adult human ever. She lived a short, strange life, one filled with money and fame, but also pain and exploitation. A tiny figure who left behind a giant story. Emma Showler. Emma Showler was born in 1868 in St. Louis, Missouri. At first, she was just like anyone else. She stood 5 feet 2 inches tall and had a healthy body. But in her early 20s, something began to go horribly wrong. Her body started wasting away. Her muscles melted, her energy vanished, and her weight dropped fast. She had a rare disorder called Simmons disease, now known as hypopituitarism. Her pituitary gland had failed. That little gland controls most of the body's systems, and hers had almost shut down completely. Emma dropped to just 45 pounds. She looked like a skeleton. Doctors said it was as if her flesh had disappeared. And in the cruel world of the 1800s, that meant she became a public show. Out of money and cast aside by society, Emma joined sideshows. She was displayed across the Midwest like an exhibit, shown to crowds who paid to see her eat or walk. Promoters printed her picture on posters and called her the living skeleton. It wasn't really her choice. Some say she was forced into it through unfair contracts. Others say she simply had no other way to survive. Either way, her fame didn't last long. When the shows stopped coming, she was left alone. In 1890, just like Lucia, she died young. Emma was only 22. She passed away in a cold boarding house in St. Louis. No family, no friends, only a few medical students showed up at her funeral. Not to mourn, but to study her body. Later autopsies found her pituitary gland was nearly gone. It was a shocking discovery for doctors at the time. She helped science understand hormonal diseases, even though no one helped her when she needed it most. Jeremy Gillitzer. Jeremy Gillitzer had the body of a Greek statue. Broad shoulders, sharp jawline, piercing eyes. On magazine covers, he looked perfect, but inside, he was breaking. His life was one of the most tragic stories ever told in the modeling world. It wasn't drugs or fame that destroyed him. It was something quieter and more painful. Jeremy was dying from the inside out. He was born in 1970, and by the time he was 12, something was already wrong. He wasn't just losing weight. His body was shutting down. His skin grew thin hair to stay warm. He weighed just 85 pounds and kept falling. At 14, he dropped to 56 pounds. That's 25 kilograms, a full-grown boy, barely the weight of a small child. He stole laxatives. He vomited in secret. He was slipping away, and nobody could stop him. Doctors tried everything: reward systems, punishments, hospital stays. Nothing worked. He'd get better for a while. Then he'd fall right back. At school, he was bullied for being chubby. Later, he was isolated for being gay in a time when silence was survival. All of it fed into the same nightmare, but somehow he still became a model. On the outside, he looked like strength. On the inside, he was starving, literally. His teeth rotted, his gums bled, his heart nearly gave out. At one point, even the gym, his last connection to a normal life, banned him. He was too sick, too thin, too fragile. He was a liability. He tried to fight back. He created a blog. He searched for other men like him, but mostly he found women who were also dying. They'd post tributes every time one of them didn't make it, and Jeremy knew it was only a matter of time. He posted his own stories. He wrote about nights filled with binging and purging. He wrote about being so tired he could barely move. He remembered the days when he felt like himself, but those days were gone. In June 2010, he died. He was just 38 years old. His final weight was 66 pounds, 30 kilograms. His last video, where he whispered, "I miss me very much," still haunts everyone who's seen it. He had become a warning, not a model, but a mirror, for what society's silence and obsession with image can really cost. Valerie Levitton. Valerie Levitton was born in 1973. By her teen years, she was already chasing perfection. At 16, she moved to Monaco. It was the capital of glamour and cruelty. A classmate insulted her body. She ran to her mother for comfort. But instead of love, she got a warning: lose weight. She weighed 141 pounds then, perfectly healthy. But to her, it now sounded wrong. She didn't eat. And then, she ate even less. At 24, she was down to 83 pounds. Still not enough, she pushed harder. Eventually, she couldn't process food at all. Her weight dropped to 59 pounds. That's 27 kilograms. And she was 5'8". Her body was pure bone. Strangers would stare. Her skin looked like it was about to tear. She stopped dating. She couldn't touch anyone without bruising. She walked carefully, slowly, afraid even a small bump might shatter her. Doctors tried for years. Nothing worked. Her body was trapped in a war her mind had already lost. And then came the letters. From girls around the world. They wanted her advice. They wanted to be like her. Valeria didn't feel flattered. She felt terrified. She told them the truth. "I am not going to teach them how to die." Valeria had wanted to be a mother, but her disorder took that from her too. She called herself repulsive. She knew her body was a warning now, not a dream, but she still spoke out. She gave interviews. She begged others to stop chasing the lie. "Perfection doesn't look like her," she said. "It looks like pain." Lizzy Velasquez. Lizzy Velasquez was born on March 13, 1989, in Austin, Texas. She came into the world 4 weeks early and weighed just 2 pounds 11 ounces. Doctors didn't expect her to survive, but she did. And what followed was a life unlike almost anyone else's. It didn't take long for doctors to realize something was very different. Lizzy had a condition so rare that only 2 other people in the world are known to have it. The syndrome, called Marfanoid progeroid lipodystrophy, stops her body from storing fat. No matter how much she eats, she stays extremely thin. As an adult, she never weighed more than 64 pounds. She stands 5'2", tall, but has always weighed around 60 pounds. Her body burns energy so quickly that she has to eat constantly, every 15 minutes, every single day. She consumes 5,000 to 8,000 calories just to stay alive. The syndrome didn't just affect her weight. At 4 years old, she went blind in her right eye. Her left eye has only limited vision. Her skin looks prematurely aged. Her immune system is weak. and she faces serious problems with her heart, bones, and vision. And yet, her brain, organs, and bones all developed normally. That made her different from others with wasting syndromes. She was small and fragile, but sharp and bright. Because of how she looked, Lizzy faced bullying almost from the start. But nothing compared to what happened when she was 17. One day, she found a video on YouTube. It had gone viral. The title said, "World's Ugliest Woman." The girl in the video was her. It had more than 4 million views. The comments were cruel beyond belief. Strangers told her to kill herself. Lizzy cried for nights. She felt like her life had ended. But instead of giving up, she did something no one expected. She stood up. Lizzy turned all that pain into a mission. In 2014, she gave a TEDx talk called "How Do You Define Yourself?" Her message was clear: don't let others define your worth. That video also went viral, but this time the response was different. People listened, they were moved, they cheered. Her journey wasn't easy. She's had many surgeries over the years, on her eyes, her ears, her feet. She's had constant tests, blood work, and bone scans to keep up with the toll her condition takes. But through it all, she pushed forward. She graduated from Texas State University. She became a full-time motivational speaker. She wrote books like Be Beautiful, Be You, and Dare to Be Kind, sharing her story of pain, strength, and transformation. In 2015, her life story was turned into a documentary called A Brave Heart, the Lizzy Velasquez story. It premiered at South by Southwest and brought her message to even more people. She didn't just speak out against bullying. She became a symbol of what it means to survive cruelty and rise far above it. Tom Stannifford. Tom Stannifford was born on July 1, 1989, in Akrotiri, Cyprus. At first, everything about him seemed normal, but as he grew, something strange started happening. The fat beneath his skin began to disappear. His face and limbs looked thinner and tighter over time. Doctors were confused. His body stood tall at 6 feet 3 inches, but he weighed just 66 kilograms, about 145 pounds. And even more shocking, he had less than 1% body fat. That's a level most people wouldn't survive. It took years to find out why. Tom has an extremely rare condition called mandibuloacral dysplasia, with type B lipodystrophy. It's caused by a mutation in the POLD1 gene. This condition was only recognized in 2013. In the entire world, only 8 people are known to have it. The disease makes it impossible for Tom's body to store or use fat. And fat isn't just for looks. It protects organs, helps make hormones, stores energy, and keeps the body warm. Without it, Tom's muscles feel stiff, his skin is tight, his joints don't bend easily. Even walking can be difficult because his ankles are almost completely locked in place. His hearing began to fade by the time he was 10, and he now wears hearing aids. He also has extremely low testosterone, but here's the strangest part. Even though Tom looks skinny, his body acts like he's obese. His metabolism is broken. He has type 2 diabetes. That's the kind of diabetes people usually get from being overweight, not from having no fat at all. But in Tom's case, it's just one more bizarre twist in a life full of them. Despite all of this, Tom never gave up. In fact, he turned toward one of the most demanding sports in the world, cycling. With only about 40% of the muscle mass of a regular man and no real energy reserves, training was brutal. He couldn't eat sugar like other athletes. He had to constantly adjust his food and medication just to keep moving. But he kept pushing. In 2011, at just 22 years old, he became the youngest ever solo national paracycling circuit race champion in Britain. The race took place at the Redbridge Cycling Centre, and Tom beat the odds in every possible way. Even when doctors had no answers, Tom kept going. It took more than 20 years to finally get the correct diagnosis. For most of his life, no one could explain what was happening to him, but he refused to let that stop him. He earned a degree in law and French. He now works as a consultant for disability access and inclusive travel, and he's using his story to fight for others with rare diseases so that they don't have to wait as long as he did. Rachel Faroke. Rachel Faroke was born in 1978 in California. She was the kind of person everyone admired. She graduated at the top of her class, valedictorian, summa cum laude, and even pursued acting. She had a bright future, full of energy and drive. But life took a turn no one expected. After a series of emotional and personal setbacks, Rachel began to slip into the grip of anorexia. What started quietly turned into a full-blown nightmare that lasted for over 10 years. By 2015, she was 37 years old, standing 5'7" and weighing just 40 pounds. She had once been a healthy 125. Now, her bones showed through her skin. People who saw her couldn't believe she was still alive. Doctors and news outlets described her appearance as shocking. Her body began to break down, her heart weakened, her liver and kidneys started to fail. She developed severe osteoporosis. She had blood clots. She needed transfusions. In one terrifying episode, doctors gave her fluids to try and stabilize her. She gained 40 pounds of water weight overnight. Her organs couldn't handle the sudden change. She almost died right then. Hospitals across California wouldn't admit her. Not even other states would take the risk. They called her a liability. Only one hospital in the country, the Acute Center for Eating Disorders in Denver, had the resources to treat someone in such extreme danger. But it was far away and too expensive. Traveling itself could kill her. And she and her husband Rod had already lost everything. Rod had quit his job to care for her full-time. They had no options left. So Rachel made a video. She looked into the camera and begged for help. It was raw and heartbreaking. That video spread across the internet like wildfire. Strangers around the world saw her pain and wanted to help. More than 8,000 people donated to her GoFundMe. It raised nearly $200,000, twice the amount they had asked for. That money didn't just fund her treatment, it gave her a chance to live. Doctors warned that treating her wasn't simple. Her body was so starved that even a small increase in calories could cause her to burn weight faster. Her metabolism was fighting back. Every tiny step toward recovery had to be carefully planned. One wrong move could be fatal. A full team of specialists began working in her home. Day and night, they monitored every detail. After months of slow, painful progress, she became strong enough to travel to Denver. She made it, and she didn't stop there. Rachel used her story to help others. Her recovery isn't complete, and it likely never will be, but she now speaks openly about the truth of eating disorders. She tells people that it's never just about food, it's a mental illness, a war inside the mind. Through her social media and interviews, she reaches thousands who feel alone in their suffering. Lena Marie Fawson. Lena Marie Fawson was born in Norway in 1986. At just 10 years old, she made a heartbreaking choice. She stopped eating because she didn't want to grow up. In her own words, she wanted to stop time. That decision would shape the rest of her life. What started as a fear of adulthood turned into a lifelong battle with anorexia. For 23 years, her illness controlled everything. But Lena was not just a woman suffering from anorexia, she was also a powerful artist. At 15, she picked up a camera and started taking self-portraits. Her goal was simple: to stop time, to freeze the world exactly as it was. But what she created was something far deeper. Her photos were raw, painful, and honest. They didn't glamorize anorexia, they exposed it. And more than that, they showed what it means to suffer as a human being. In her words, these are not pictures about anorexia. They are about human suffering. Her portraits were quiet and classical, but they were also impossible to look away from. You could see every bone, every shadow. She photographed herself in ways that most people wouldn't dare. Yet there was dignity in her work, dignity in her pain, in her stillness, in her truth. Lena's photos started to gain attention in Norway and across Europe. In 2017, her solo exhibition drew large crowds. People stood face to face with her suffering. They didn't just see a sick body, they saw a person, and that was her goal. But Lena didn't stop there. Even as her body continued to weaken, she found the strength to travel to Greece. There, she photographed Syrian refugee children, capturing their own stories of loss and survival. It was her final big project. Tragically, during that trip, she was in a car accident. For someone already so physically fragile, the injuries were serious. Her body could barely recover. Despite everything, she was never silent about her illness. She didn't pretend. She didn't hide behind poetic language. In her TED Talks, interviews, and social media posts, she spoke directly. She talked about the push and pull between her desire to live and her body's constant decline. She once said, "To live is to make yourself vulnerable." That one sentence summed up her life, her art, her courage. Lena died on October 22, 2019. Her death shocked her country. It shook the art world. She was only 33, but she had already created a legacy. Her final gift to the world was a documentary called Self-Portrait, released in 2020. It pieced together her story, her final years, her work, and her deepest wish, that no one suffering should ever feel invisible or alone. Eugenia Cooney. Eugenia Cooney, born in 1994, created her YouTube channel in 2011. She loved makeup, fashion, and dressing up like her favorite characters. But as her videos gained millions of views, people weren't just watching for beauty tips. They were staring in disbelief. By 2015, viewers began to panic. Eugenia's thin frame didn't just seem unhealthy, it looked life-threatening. Her bones stuck out in every video. Her face seemed ghostly. Thousands of people, mostly young fans, watched every upload. Some worried, others obsessed. A petition to ban her from YouTube quickly gained over 18,000 signatures. People feared her look was influencing vulnerable viewers, especially teens struggling with their own body image. But YouTube deleted the petition, saying it broke their rules. The controversy didn't go away. In fact, it exploded. Between 2016 and 2019, her appearance was analyzed in detail, frame by frame, across forums and Reddit threads. Some twisted her image into pro-eating disorder content without her permission. Others begged her to get help. Still, she denied anything was wrong. By that time, her audience had grown to over 4 million across platforms. The bigger her following got, the louder the concern. Then, in 2019, Eugenia disappeared. No uploads, no live streams, nothing. Fans feared the worst. Rumors of her death spread like wildfire. But then, she came back. A YouTube documentary by Shane Dawson titled The Return of Eugenia Cooney revealed the truth. She had been hospitalized and received treatment for a severe eating disorder. The video went viral, over 27 million views in just a few weeks. People were hopeful. It looked like she was turning her life around, but the hope didn't last. After her return, Eugenia seemed unchanged. Some said she was even thinner. She wore tighter clothes and kept posting regularly. Critics said she was falling back into old patterns. Supporters said she had the right to be herself. Either way, the internet couldn't look away. In 2020, the Shorty Awards even nominated the documentary. But by 2021, the cycle of worry began again. During a live stream, she suddenly started gagging, looked weak, and quickly ended the stream. Fans panicked. And in May 2025, it happened again. Another distressing live stream, followed by silence. Her next few posts were all pre-recorded. She hasn't gone live since. Things got so bad that TikTok started redirecting anyone searching her name to eating disorder hotlines. That happened in 2024. Even the platforms had started treating her as a public health warning. Her story isn't just about one girl. It's become a battle over internet responsibility, personal freedom, and the dark side of fame. Catherine Bowen. Catherine Bowen's life is tied to rare biology. She was born with neonatal progeroid syndrome, a disease so rare, fewer than 40 people in the world have ever had it. Unlike the typical aging disorder progeria, this condition meant that Catherine couldn't store body fat at all. From birth, she looked drastically different. Her skin was thin and wrinkled. Her cheeks were hollow. Her bones stuck out from every angle. She had no fat under her skin. Even her skull looked bigger than normal because there was nothing to cover it. Guinness World Records officially recognized her as one of the thinnest living people on Earth. Not because of anything she chose, but because her body physically could not hold on to fat. Her fat levels were under 2%. That's not just unhealthy, it's nearly incompatible with life. For most women, the healthy range is at least 10%. For athletes, maybe 8%. For her, less than 2%. And it wasn't just about looks. Her body had no padding to protect itself. A small bump could mean serious injury. A slight cold could turn into a life-threatening crisis. She had no energy reserves, no safety net. Simple things became painful. Sitting down hurt. Sleeping too long could cause bruises. Ordinary clothes didn't fit. They just hung off her body like sheets. Her condition made every day a challenge, but Catherine didn't hide. She let doctors study her. She appeared in textbooks. She talked about her life. And she kept going, even when others stared or whispered. Growing up, she was bullied. People didn't understand what they were seeing. Some thought she had an eating disorder. Others thought she was cursed. The truth was medical, but the stigma never stopped. She once said that just walking into a room could feel like a test of strength. Her story wasn't one of fame or followers. It was one of survival. Every day she stayed alive was a medical miracle, but it was also a testament to her spirit. The odds were against her from birth, and she still chose to keep living, keep fighting, and keep telling her story.